Look around you. Look at your life right now. What I see is someone constantly drained, always worried, perpetually stressed, someone who cares too much about everything, others' opinions, traffic, the supermarket line, the comment your colleague made 2 weeks ago, the uncertainty of the next year. And while you drown in this sea of concerns, other people seem to navigate the same storm with ease. Have you ever wondered why some people seem untouchable? I'm not talking about coldness or sociopathic indifference. I'm talking about that imperturbable serenity that some possess even when everything crumbles around them. Think of someone you know who stays calm in situations that would make you spiral. Someone who doesn't lose sleep over what others think. Someone who faces extreme adversity without imploding. What does that person have that you don't? I'll tell you what it is, even knowing you'll resist this truth. They've mastered the art of not giving a damn, not about everything, but about the right things. And you're wasting your precious lifetime caring about things that don't deserve even a second of your thought. What if I told you that this capacity to selectively not give a damn isn't indifference? It's actually one of the highest forms of wisdom, a hidden force that two of history's greatest thinkers, Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor of Rome, and Albert Camus, the existentialist rebel, not only practiced, but considered essential for a well-lived life. Today, I'll destroy your comfortable illusions and show you why this ability to not care about what doesn't deserve your energy isn't just liberating, it's absolutely necessary for your mental sanity in a world that wants to suck every drop of your concern until it leaves you an empty shell. Found the brutal economy of your limited mental energy. Let's start with a truth you've been avoiding. You have a severely limited amount of mental and emotional energy to spend each day. This isn't opinion. It's pure, inescapable biology. Science calls this decision fatigue and ego depletion. Well-documented phenomena showing how each decision, each worry, each thing you deeply care about drains a bit more from your already scarce reserve of mental energy. It's like a battery that can't be instantly recharged. And here you are, connecting every possible device to it, then wondering why you're perpetually exhausted. A Columbia University study discovered something that should open your eyes. Judges, people trained to be objective and fair, tend to make more lenient decisions early in the day or after breaks, when their mental reserves are replenished. As the day progresses and they become mentally exhausted, their decisions become progressively harsher and less considered. This isn't coincidence. It's what happens to you when you try to care about everything. You're not being virtuous, you're being reckless with your most precious resource. Marcus Aurelius, ruling an empire spanning 3 continents, understood this better than you with your trivial concerns. He didn't have the luxury of wasting mental energy on the irrelevant. In his meditations, he disciplined himself. Don't waste time discussing what a good person should be. Be one. This isn't just an inspirational phrase for your feed. It's a radical energy conservation strategy. Instead of obsessively worrying about opinions, appearances, and external judgments like you do, Aurelius focused only on what was under his control, his own actions and values. Camus, facing a world that had witnessed the atrocities of fascism and totalitarianism in the 20th century, reached a similar conclusion by a different path. Confronted with apparent chaos and senseless cruelty, he developed his philosophy of the absurd, the notion that we desperately seek meaning in a fundamentally indifferent universe. In The Myth of Sisyphus, he describes a man eternally condemned to push a rock up a mountain, only to see it roll back down. Instead of despair, Camus finds a strange freedom in Sisyphus's situation. The struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. This isn't toxic optimism or dissociation. It's a deliberate rebellion against expectations that drain your energy without purpose. It's the conscious decision not to care about what cannot be controlled, to find meaning in the process rather than the outcome. And here you are, draining yourself daily over things you cannot change, outcomes you cannot guarantee, opinions you cannot control. How irrational is that? The imperative of choosing your battles. Let me be brutally clear about something. What I'm proposing isn't generalized apathy. Aurelius was deeply committed to his duties and to virtue. Camus passionately fought against social injustices. Both cared deeply, but selectively. The key lies precisely in what they chose not to care about. A recent Harvard study tracked stress levels of over 5,000 adults across 5 years. The most surprising discovery: it wasn't the quantity of stressors in a person's life that best predicted physical and mental health problems. It was the amount of stress about stress. That is, how much they worried about their own worries. People who learned not to care about their own stress, to accept it as part of life instead of adding an extra layer of worry about it, showed 60% fewer stress-related health problems, even when facing the same amount of adversity as others. Are you hearing this? Your suffering doesn't come from what happens to you. It comes from what you choose to do with what happens. Your worries about your worries are literally killing you. It's exactly what Aurelius tried to make you understand when he wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." And it's also what Camus expressed when he said, "In the midst of winter, I found there was, within me, an invincible summer." Both understood a truth that modern neuroscience is only beginning to confirm, and that you've been avoiding like the plague. It's not external events that determine your suffering, it's your relationship with them. And that relationship is something you choose, moment by moment, whether you have the courage to admit it or not. Let's delve deeper into how these two giants of thought applied this principle, so you can see how much you've wasted your life worrying about what doesn't deserve your attention. Aurelius practiced the Stoic distinction between what is under our control and what isn't. In his meditations, he constantly reminded himself, some things are within our power, others are not. For him, we should care only about what's under our control. Our judgments, values, and actions. Everything else, including others' opinions, external events, and even death, should be faced with radical detachment. How much time have you spent today, obsessively thinking about things completely outside your control? Be honest. Camus, meanwhile, faced what he called the absurd, the tension between our human search for meaning and the universe's indifference. For him, not caring about this cosmic indifference, not in the sense of denying it, but accepting it, and then creating meaning on your own, was the greatest possible rebellion. In The Rebel, he described the rebellious man as one who says no, not out of nihilism, but as an affirmation of a limit beyond which he refuses to allow his dignity to be violated. It's the no that precedes the yes, the rejection of the absurd, that allows the creation of personal meaning. A Stanford University study on psychological resilience discovered something you desperately need to hear. Highly resilient individuals, those who thrive in the face of adversity, demonstrate a distinct pattern of selective detachment. They care intensely about their personal values and meaningful relationships, but show a remarkable ability to let go of concerns about things outside their control. This isn't an ability you're born with, it's a skill you develop, one that you've neglected to cultivate, to your own detriment. Both Aurelius and Camus left us a blueprint for developing it. It's time for you to stop dodging and start practicing it. Yours, the disciplines you can no longer postpone. Forget that spiritual practice bullshit. This isn't about lighting incense and chanting mantras. It's about radically transforming your relationship with reality through specific disciplines. Here are 5 relentless practices, inspired by the teachings of Aurelius and Camus, that you need to start now, not tomorrow, now. First, the practice of negative visualization. Face your fears, head on. Aurelius began his day imagining everything that could go wrong, not out of pessimism, but to remove the surprise element and diminish the emotional power of possible setbacks. For him, this wasn't optional, it was essential. He wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, think, enjoy, love. Then imagine the worst that could happen today and realize you have the inner resources to handle it." Battle exercise. Dedicate 5 non-negotiable minutes each morning to consciously visualize the challenges you might face during the day. The criticism at work that will make you want to hide. The traffic jam that will test your patience. The family conflict you've been avoiding. Not to torture yourself, but to mentally rehearse your centered response. If this happens, it's outside my control. What's under my control is how I'll respond. This isn't negative thinking, it's deliberate mental preparation. It's the difference between being hit by an unexpected wave or seeing it coming and positioning yourself correctly. Second, the Camusian questioning. Decide what really matters. Camus challenged people to constantly question whether something truly deserves their concern. In a universe without inherent meaning, you must consciously choose where to invest your limited energy. We must affirm meaning for life in a world where meaning is not given, he insisted. This means being brutally selective about what deserves your care. Battle exercise. When you catch yourself worrying about something, as you probably are right now, stop and interrogate that worry like a relentless prosecutor. Will this worry serve my chosen purpose? In 5 years, will this matter minimally? If I knew I had only 1 year to live, would I spend even a single second on this? If the answer is no, practice consciously letting go of that worry. Not as a gentle suggestion, but as an imperative for your sanity. Third, the cosmic vision. Reduce your ego to its true dimension. Aurelius used contemplation of the universe's vastness and human life's brevity to put his problems in proper perspective. Tiny. Look back. How countless generations of men have come and gone. Look ahead. How countless more will come. Human life is smoke, a fleeting moment, battle exercise. When something deeply disturbs you, abandon what you're doing. Go outside at night and look at the stars, or contemplate an ocean or mountain. Reflect on the billions of years of cosmic existence compared to your momentary concern, not to diminish your experience, but to place it in a perspective that naturally dissolves trivial worries. Your problem is nothing on the cosmic scale, absolutely nothing. And that should be a relief, not an offense to your ego. Fourth, the rebellion of creation. Transform despair into creative act. For Camus, the response to the absurd wasn't despair, suicide, or religious hope. It was creation, making art, cultivating beauty, forging connections, even knowing they're temporary. To create is to live twice, he wrote. Creation is the answer we give when we decide not to care about existence's apparent futility. Battle exercise. Identify an area of your life where you're paralyzed by worry or fear of judgment. That thing you've been indefinitely postponing because it's not perfect, or others might not approve. Now, commit to a deliberate act of creation in this area. Write a page, make a sketch, initiate a difficult conversation, take the first step in a project. Not because it matters in the grand cosmic scheme, but precisely because you choose to make it matter. Creation is your rebellion against existence's absurdity. Fifth, the diary of unconcern. Train your mind for battle. Aurelius wrote his Meditations as a personal diary, never intended for publication. It was his tool for processing concerns and reorienting his mind to what truly mattered. Battle exercise. Keep a relentless diary of unconcern. Each night, list 3 things you worried about during the day, but now realize don't deserve even an atom of your energy. Beside them, list 3 things that truly deserve your care. Over time, you'll train your mind to automatically distinguish between the two. But this requires consistency. It's not an optional practice when you feel like it. It's a daily discipline. Facing the real battles. Enough theory. Let's apply this knowledge to the real situations, draining your energy daily. Situation 1. Your pathetic obsession with others' opinions. Typical reaction. You ruminate for days over a critical comment. Change your behavior to please others. Live in constant terror of others' judgment, as if your existence depended on universal approval. Aurelius Camus perspective. Others' opinions are completely outside your control. More brutally, as Aurelius observed, how ephemeral and worthless human things are. Everything that mortals desire or fear. Transformative response. This person's opinion is based on their limited perception, not my complete reality. Their approval doesn't define my worth even for a second. I can hear constructive criticism without letting it define me. As Camus would insist, I create my own meaning independently of external judgments. If I'm satisfied with my integrity, the rest is irrelevant noise. The truth is, most people aren't thinking about you. They're too busy worrying about what others think of them. Realize the irony of this ridiculous cycle. Situation 2. Your paralyzing fear of failure. Typical reaction. You paralyze yourself in front of new opportunities. Seek impossible guarantees of success. Lose yourself in imaginary catastrophic scenarios, and thus never really live. Aurelius Camus. Perspective. Failure is inevitable for anyone who truly lives. For Camus, the only real failure is not participating in the rebellion, the insistence on living fully despite the certainty of setbacks. Transformative response. Failure isn't the exception. It's the rule for anyone who truly risks. What's under my control isn't the outcome, but my effort and my response to whatever comes. Like Sisyphus, I find meaning in the effort itself, regardless of the final result. A failure doesn't define me. It's just an event I incorporate into my growth narrative. The real failure would be never trying out of fear. Ask yourself, years after your death, do you want to be remembered as someone who failed trying something meaningful, or as someone who never really tried anything out of fear? Situation 3. Your useless anxiety about the future. Typical reaction. You constantly worry about hypothetical scenarios, seek impossible certainties, sacrifice the present for an imagined future that will probably never arrive as you visualize it. Aurelius Camus perspective. The future is fundamentally uncertain. As Aurelius wrote, never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present. Transformative response. The present is the only moment that truly exists, and the only one I can directly influence. Instead of wasting mental energy on endless future scenarios, I focus on living according to my values today. As Camus insists, real generosity toward the future lies in giving all to the present. What I do now is my only guarantee for any future. How many hours of your limited life have you already wasted worrying about futures that never materialized? And how much of your current life are you sacrificing for a tomorrow that may never come as you imagine? The principles you can no longer deny. Let's recap the fundamental truths you can no longer pretend you didn't hear. 1. Your mental and emotional energy is a severely limited resource. Being selective about how you spend it isn't selfishness. It's the most basic survival intelligence. 2. The distinction between what is and isn't under your control is fundamental to determining what you should care about. Everything else is pure waste. 3. It's not external events that cause your suffering, but your relationship with them. And that relationship is a choice you make, whether you recognize it or not. 4. In an apparently indifferent universe, you have the power and responsibility to create your own meaning. No one will do this for you. 5. Accepting uncertainty and mortality doesn't lead to despair, but to a deeper freedom to live authentically, if you have the courage for it. 6. The ability to selectively not care isn't an end in itself, but a means to direct your limited energy to what you truly value. 7. Existential rebellion isn't in denying life's difficulties, but in living it fully despite them, in transforming the absurd into creative act. Marcus Aurelius, writing in his personal diary during military campaigns and imperial crises, wasn't theorizing about life. He was struggling to live it with dignity and purpose, while carrying the known world's weight on his shoulders. And Camus wrote not as a distant academic, but as someone deeply engaged with the struggles of his time, having witnessed the horrors of war and totalitarianism. Both offer not sterile philosophical abstractions, but practical wisdom tested in the most extreme circumstances life can present. As Camus observed, in the midst of hate, I found there was, within me, an invincible love. In the midst of tears, I found there was, within me, an invincible smile. This is the true strength of not caring about what doesn't deserve your energy. It frees your entire being to care deeply about what truly matters. The call for your liberation. Look honestly at your life now. How many of your worries are about things you can't control even for a second? How much of your precious and limited mental energy is consumed by thoughts about others' judgment, by anxieties about the uncertain future, by ruminations about the unchangeable past? And how much mental space would be available if you practice the art of not caring about these things? What kind of life could you create with all that liberated energy? Marcus Aurelius reminds you of a truth you've been avoiding. Very soon you will be dead, and still you are not straightforward, nor serene. Death is coming. It's an absolute certainty, and yet you live as if you had infinite time to waste on insignificant worries. Camus compliments with brutal clarity. The question is not whether we can be free from death, pain, anxiety, but how we can live free in their presence. This is the freedom within your reach right now, not freedom from difficult circumstances. That's a childish fantasy, but freedom within them. The freedom that comes from deeply understanding what does and doesn't deserve your precious and limited attention. In our next video, the silent power that defeats any opponent, Sun Tzu and Nietzsche's strategy, will reveal how the millennia-old principles of history's greatest military strategist, combined with Nietzsche's philosophy of power, can completely transform your capacity for influence and victory without draining conflicts. You'll discover how to win battles before they even begin, and how to cultivate a presence that naturally disarms any opposition. If this video touched on some truth you've been avoiding, write in the comments. I carefully choose where to invest my energy, not as an empty mantra, but as a commitment to start living consciously, not as a slave to your worries, but as their master. Until our next meeting, the choice, as always, is yours.